Hello and welcome on the Third Man Cricket Show. I've got Kaustubh with me, the one and only Kaustubh, in fact, and Parth Arora with me. So, so yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time to watch a Test match if you're an Indian fan. But if you're a cricket lover, then you're watching something really, really special from Joe Root, the England captain. England completely dominating the third test. Today, they'll be playing the third day, and India look in a place of bother right now because there's nothing that India seem to be doing right at the moment. England are 423 for 8. They've got a lead of 345, two wickets still in hand, two formidable batsmen, you can say, Craig Overton and Ollie Robinson, still at the crease. So, this is something really to be threatened for India. Parth, let me start with you here. Where do you think India lost the game? I mean,
I think it's all to do with the batting lineup because yeah, like we were saying from the last 2 days, like no one took the responsibility to bat long. And if you compare Joe Root with KL Rahul, both have scored runs in the recent games, but KL Rahul I think was a little more overconfident because he thought of get going from the very first over, whereas Joe Root gave respect and played in the merit of the ball, and I think that's where the England team succeeded.
okay, even Abhinav pointing out here that India lost the game in the first. India haven't lost the game, in fact, as of now, but we are in a very backward situation as of now. But yeah, Kostub, what would you like to say about the England batting lineup? There were so many questions about them, especially their openers, Rory Burns and Dom Sibley. Dom Sibley obviously not playing this Test match, but then there were still a lot of questions about the batting lineup other than Joe Root. So, what do you think about that? Because they've certainly come up in this game.
I think I would totally agree with Parth here. If you see the difference between our batsman and their batsman, is the maturity and the respect given to the bowlers. Even though they are in their home conditions, they were all out on 120, but they kept their head down and gave the respect to the ball, the deserved respect. And on the other hand, we were really, what can we say, very immature in our shot selection. It's not like our batsmen are not skilled enough. It's just like uh, the term that natural game that has been going around a lot, and getting out on a very bad ball and giving it like I just play like this in the national game. That is a very lame excuse. When you're representing, just 11 players, you're representing one billion people, and there are so many batsmen on the bench, and you play like this and then say this is my national game. That is uh, that is very saddening. And to come to our bowlers, I think they have been really they are trying to bowl the best, but I think the situation of the pitch is not helping bowlers much. And you can see that the way they are scoring, the Joe Root has been in phenomenal form. He's slashing our bowling left and right. He's not, he took his time to settle, but once he starts going, he just keeps going.
Absolutely. And Sanchez is making a valid point here because he thinks that we should take the result out of the consideration now. We should concentrate directly on the next match. So, Parth, do you think the Indian batting order will be the key for us? Not in respect of winning this Test match, but to get the confidence for the next Test match as well.
It would be very crucial, for us in the second innings because from here I think everyone knows that we cannot win the match, but we should not get away from fighting. We should fight back, and we should I mean score as much runs as possible because if Bhagwan ki kripa hui, so if a draw is possible, I think it's a win for India.
Well, the weather forecast doesn't seem to be, in good colors for India. But then we surely do hope that the England weather, gets some rain there in Leeds. But there was a question from Ankit earlier. He mentions that should Malan be given a long run at number three because we've seen how well he played, Kostub. We've seen the 70 that he made yesterday on day two, and he was looking quite comfortable at the crease as well with his drives and his back foot cuts. So, do you think it's a it's an opportunity grabbed by David Malan?
Definitely, there is an opportunity to be grabbed, but if you look at the English pattern, they don't give much time to any batsman or any player, to be honest. They are highly into their rotational policy, and if you look at the age that Malan is in, I think he's 30, might be in early 30s, but he's 33, 34, I think. I don't think English board is really high on their team selection with if you consider old players. I mean, I'm not saying he's old, but if you look at the pattern, most of their players retire at 36 or 35. So giving him a long run at number three might be a good thing for them in short term. But if you look at long term, I think they will be backing some young talent like Asif Amit or someone else.
And even if they want to give him more chances, I think this is not the time. He needs to be tested. I mean, for like 2 or 3 matches more before confirming his place at number three.
And to be honest, he's number one batsman in T20 right now. And if you want to maximize that part of his career, then just like Anderson did, he should stick for at one format only. There are very few batsmen that can play all three formats. And if you look at Steve Smith, even he is not being able to cope up with T20. So I think to maximize his career, right now he's doing well for them. But in future, he should stick to T20 or ODI.
That's a very interesting point that you made there, Kostub, because we've seen of only a few batsmen, as you mentioned, who play well in all three formats and who are consistent in all three formats. So it will be a challenge for Malan here. But we as Indian fans surely hope that he doesn't play well in the next two games as well. Sanmay had asked a question earlier. He's asking when will Virat and Ajinkya Rahane and Pujara stop poking outside the off stump? Well, we are moving into day one now, but then it's still a concern for us if you look because India will be batting today. There's a great possibility of India batting today as well. So, Parth, what do you think about this question? Because it's a really tough question. We've seen these Indian batsmen face the uncertainty outside the off stump and they have always failed to deliver when it comes to either leaving or playing outside the off stump. So do you think it's a technical glitch or do you think that it's something in the mindset of these batsmen?
I think it can be a technical glitch or I think a bit here and there in their batting technique, but also you should consider that in England, I mean the ball gets to gets to get, gets the movement with the seam as well because after pitching I mean the ball can go either out or either in. So I think that can be one of the reasons why Indian batsmen are failing in that corridor of outside the off stump. But I think of Pujara, I think Pujara Pujara's concept is different for me as if you compare with Virat and Rahane because he has been not been in form since the last World Test Championship and also start of this World Test Championship coming ahead. I think we should not drop him, but I think we should give him some rest. I mean, take his mind off things and off cricket, and let him focus on other things in his life, and then I think he should make a comeback, and I think and I'm 100% sure that he will get to the form once again.
An interesting point there because we've seen that there was a long gap in between the second and the third test match, but there's only a 3 day gap between the third and fourth test match. So it will be really critical those 3 days for Chiteshwar Pujara and all the Indian batsmen who have failed to perform in this test match. But Kostub, this a similar question to you. Do you think it's a technical aspect of these players, or do you think that it's the mindset or the lack of form that's playing on their minds right now?
I think I would isolate Pujara from the rest of the two because I think Pujara on the onside, especially on the cover drive, is not as same as Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane. They both come very fluently. If you look at the cover drive, they do. And Pujara is what can you say? He just puts his bat there, and he's not really a player of cover drive. So him getting out is slightly concern for me because he's actually poking his bat outside. Then if you look at the other two, they are actually trying to play a shot and they are getting the edge, which is natural to them. But if you look at Pujara, he's just planting his bat outside the off stump and the edge is being taken. So,
Pujara
I'm
doesn't give a
yeah,
long football. Yeah.
yeah. If you look at Rohit Sharma, he has similar footwork to Pujara and he has been very successful in England. to my, I mean, I was really surprised to see Rohit Sharma being so successful in England. Because if you look at his performance against in India against, sorry, if you look at his performance against England, he has not been really well with the swinging conditions. So, but Rohit Sharma, after so many years of playing, he has understood what are his limitations and what are his capabilities, and he's just leaving out the ball outside of stump. He's not giving much of a room to make error there. So I think if you look at Pujara, he can do the similar things. And in Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane, as Sunil Gavaskar has said himself that they should at least consult with some other legend like Rahul Dravid or Sachin Tendulkar to understand what things go behind. Because I don't think there is technical glitches there. There's a lot more to do with mind. And I think that the second test where Kohli was fired up, that is playing in his mind. Because when he came to bat, the two wickets were really, we were 2 wickets down. India was being dominated, and the brash nature or the nature that he has, that he does not want to be bullied, sometimes gets to him. And I'm not criticizing him, but when sometimes when you're not in your best mind, mistakes tends to happen.
I completely agree with you there, Kostu, because I think that Kohli made a rash decision to play that shot, obviously, because it was way outside his off stump, and we've seen that happen so many times now in England. So there's certainly a lot to think for the Indian middle order because they will be batting today. But let's talk about Joe Root and his batting now. I mean, 300s in three Test matches. If you're not an England cricket fan, you surely have to applaud him as a cricket fan, isn't it, Parth?
Yeah, surely. I mean, Joe Root has stuck his roots on the crease and is not no leaving the crease. I mean, yeah, like I said, he is giving respect to the bowlers and playing to the merit. I mean, not getting overconfident because you have that that thought in your subconscious mind that I have scored previously, so I have that confidence. But some players like KL Rahul, turn that confidence into overconfidence and lose their wicket. But Joe Root, I mean, he's been very consistent, in this particular series, and I think it will be a huge threat for the Indians in the coming test as well.
Well, just before I talk about Joe Root to Kostub now, there's a very interesting point made by Omkar and Sanmay both here. I think very few of us remember the test
Yeah, yeah.
that Sachin Tendulkar played, and he scored the 241 in Sydney. But then he didn't score a single cover drive because he was struggling outside the off stump. So all he did was leave and play the late cuts. So, Kostub, do you think it's the perfect advice that Sunil Gavaskar has given to Kohli right now?
Yeah, definitely it is the perfect advice. But see, I'm not really trying to criticize Virat Kohli. I know that my image is like I really hate him. But to be honest, if you look at his career and if you look at Sachin's career, he tends to get into verbal arguments. So that is the thing that really gets him. It's really easy to control him. If you poke at him, he will try to go after you with his bat, and that's where his weakness lies. Just imagine if this was a New Zealand match. If no player was talking to him, if there was no sledging going on, Virat Kohli would not go after the ball. He would play his game and he would play really well. But just because England is getting at him, the crowd is booing him. He's getting trapped there. They are playing with his mind and he's getting played. That's what I feel. It might not be true, but I feel he's far more better player than the scorecard are showing.
Pretty valid point there
and
by Kostub.
also
Yeah.
and also it's not that the same technique will work for both the players. I mean, yes, you can change your technique or change some strategy like Sachin did, but it can be a different one. I mean, looking at the 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 way Virat Kohli plays.
Yeah, I think if you remember one interview from Wasim Akram, and when Pakistan bowling was on very top, when Wasim Akram was there, Imran Khan was there, and uh, I forgot his name. Shit. Wakar Yunis was there. They were absolutely dominating the test era of them. And there was one batsman from New Zealand named Martin Crowe who would never get out their reverse swing, and they were beaming at beaming the reverse swing to the New Zealand bowlers. And to I mean, they were really surprised why Martin Crowe is not getting out to the reverse swing. And the only thing that Martin Crowe was doing different from every other batsman in the world was he was just playing for the in swingers. He was not even considering that there will be an outswing. He was just playing in swingers. He was keeping his bat inside the off stump, and he was keeping it there. So there was no edge being taken there. So I think if that is the adjustment that he can do, the Virat Kohli or Ani or Pujara even, because Pujara does not even have a cover drive in his arsenal. So if he just takes the bat inside his safe stumps and then it edges, then that's a fair ball. That was a great ball by Anderson. But when you're fishing outside off stump and you give away your wicket, that is your fault. I think.
And Pujara's bat also, opens towards the leg side. I mean, that can be another reason why, he faces those edges, outside the off stump.
I think we
Because
should give
because
credit to English bowlers as well. I mean, I know our batsmen are letting us down, but English bowlers have been really consistent with their bowling line.
I
they keep
think
bowling at the same area.
James Anderson is really fired up after that brawl with Jasprit Bumrah, and the way he came up in the first session of the first day, it there was no doubt that he's one of the best bowlers the world cricket has ever produced, and we could see it in his line and length. He was so consistent, so that's really to be applauded for James
And we
Anderson. But
saw we saw
yeah,
in his celebration after he got Virat Kohli, like how much he was fired up because of that incident.
yeah, well, he
Yeah,
deserved
even
it, you
Virat
know.
Kohli is a big fish as well to get that any day. Virat Kohli is big fish. Even if he scores 200, getting Virat Kohli is a big thing.
That's
Absolutely,
the beauty
absolutely.
of cricket. The bowler wins the battle every time. He just needs one ball to win the battle, even if the batsman hits him for like 4 or 5 fours in an over. But the last ball, if he gets the wicket, the bowler, if he gets the wicket, he wins the battle.
Yeah, we
That
have to win more battles.
that can be the line of the day, Parth, isn't it? Bowlers win the battle every time because all they need is one good delivery and they get a wicket. So, but yeah, Omkar here has made another interesting point. We've seen a lot of reviews being wasted by Virat Kohli, but we also saw one review taken quite cleverly by him yesterday against David Malan. But here he's talking about the last ball before stumps where India were desperate for a wicket, obviously, as they have been in this test match, and there was a clear inside edge, and India still went for the LBW review. So, your thoughts on how reviews can be picked, Kaustubh, first, and then Parth?
First of all, I think bowlers' opinion has to be, you know, thrown out of the consideration. There needs to be no consideration from bowlers' point of view. The only thing that the captain should ask bowler is whether it is pitching in stump or not, and rest up is up to the batsman. Sorry, the keeper and the captain. And I think Virat Kohli, like he's like us. He wears his heart on the sleeves. And most of the times when we shout at looking at the screen, "Arey, out, out, out," plum, but we don't know anything of it. And I think that's the difference of level and opinion that we as a fans and them as a players have to have. They can't be like us. They can't be impulsive, and I think that's the main issue with our reviewing system.
The bowler
Parth,
भी
your
always say
thoughts?
कि आउट आउट है. बॉलर भी ऑलवेज से कि आउट है. ऊपर से फिर ऋषभ पंत भी आ गया. सब भैया भैया रिव्यू ले लो, आउट आउट है. That
अरे बदनाम मत करो यार. लास्ट टाइम तो वो बोल रहा था मत लो रिव्यू. हम लोग ने फिर भी जबरदस्ती ले लिया ना. दो दो ले लिए
so
ऊपर
so
से.
yeah, the captain gets messed up between these two guys.
Well,
I think yeah.
there was an interesting point made by Sanjay Manjrekar, and he was, in my opinion, for the first time, he was a bit correct here because he told that Virat Kohli has to take some bold decisions now, and he is the boss. Well, he should go for the review himself without taking the bowlers or the keepers thing into consideration because he's the one at slips. He knows if the ball's pitching. Yes, he can take the odd advice from the keeper, but then yeah, we'll have to wait and watch about how
See, but
reviews are being picked.
that's the problem with Sanjay Manjrekar's opinion and his statements, right? Virat Kohli is taking the decision. It's not like he's being influenced by keeper or bowler. He is an impulsive batter. He is an impulsive person, and he is taking the decision. If you look at last Test match, when Pant was literally begging him, "Mat lo, bhaiya, bhaiya, mat lo," he still went for the review. And
Yeah.
look, some of them really came to our side, but most of them have gone to the other side. So I mean, I don't know why Sanjay Manjrekar said that. He is the boss and he is taking the decision.
I think we should all agree that Rishabh Pant has got matured, not in batting but in taking reviews.
Yeah, so Rishabh Pant has matured in terms of reviews.
Well, yes, let's talk about Joe Root once again because there's a lot to criticize about India at the moment as they aren't performing well. in all three formats actually. And Ankit here has brought about the same point here. Joe Root was, there were a lot of questions about Joe Root's captaincy before this test match, because the loss would it was a very humiliating loss for England. We all celebrated the Indian win, but if you look at it from an England point of view, it was a humiliating loss for them as well. So after that, uh, you know, that disappointing loss, Kostub, do you think that it played on Joe Root's mind, or do you think that he has separated the batting section and the captaincy section quite well? Because there seems to be no problems with his batting at all. All the problems are with his captaincy, and in this test match, it has been proven that his captaincy decisions are good as well. So, do you think he separates both of them really well?
I don't think there is a lack of captaincy in there. He is doing a fantastic job as a captaincy. Most of the times we confuse, captain and a player and the individual performance as one, and that is not really true. So, in India, especially, we are considering batting supremacy as captaincy supremacy. That's not the case. But moving on to coming to Joe Root, he is really confident. He is giving great performances, and that is reflecting in his captaincy. Some of the decisions that he took in this series, they were phenomenal. And even right now, when there is no Jofra Archer, Mark Wood is injured, Stuart Broad is not playing. So most of the bowling arsenal that they carry, the England carries, is not really there, but still they are doing well on the bowling front. Even in the last test, we did really score some runs, but they were not something like that England is doing us to right now. Um, they are really dominating us through their batting. Yes, our bowling has been good, but they have been not lucky. At times they have been too short for English conditions. But if you look at Joe Root and the way he is leading his team, I really think that is phenomenal. When you take the responsibility of the losses to you and give the credit of winning the match to the team, that is the true testament of a great captain. You don't complain about players in media. You don't give a farcical statement about your players. You back them always. In dressing room, झाड़ दो उनको नंगा करके मारो चाहिए तो बट इन प्रेस यू ऑलवेज गिव देम support and you always back them on field. There are some things that will happen in the heat of moment. That is the part and parcel of the game. But when you pick a player in your squad, when he is in your playing 11, you back him till the death, and you trust him like your life depends on it.
And also that, like we have talked about, Joe Root not taking the right decisions. I mean, स्पिनर नहीं खिलाया, टॉस जीत के भी मतलब करेक्ट डिसीजन नहीं लिया. But even if taking those wrong decisions, he still scores the century. And I think he is he is the key man of the Indian team, and he is the pillar of the Indian team, because we have seen yesterday that after Joe Root's wicket, I mean Tash ke patto ke idhar, I mean they all got out. Butler, Bairstow, Moin Ali, and Sam Curran. So I think Joe Root. I mean, if we get Joe Root out, in the coming test early, then I think it's a win-win situation for India
Well,
in the coming
To be
test.
honest, England and India are facing a similar situation if you look at us. Even the openers, they really scored in this match only. But if you look at the previous two test matches where we have been on top, only Joe Root was scoring from the team. And even with, if you look at Indian team, only one or two players scoring. It either in one match it was KL, in another match it was Rohit Sharma, and then the next inning it was Shami and Bumrah. So to be honest, both the teams are in the same shape, so we can't much complain about. So the only difference in between the two teams is the captaincy, is the leadership, and that is really evident. And that is what the series will decide: how you pick from the loss and how you get on the top again.
perfectly put. Parth, you talked about centuries, and Joe Root has got 6 centuries this year. In fact, 7 centuries,
Seven,
six
seven.
centuries. Sorry, yeah, six. Because he got three here in England and two in Sri Lanka and one in Chennai, which we all remember so fondly. Not so fondly, in fact. But then, yeah, 6 centuries, the most by an England batsman ever in a calendar year. He's on the verge of becoming the highest run scorer in a calendar year, which of course the record has been held by Sir Don Bradman. And one of the important facts for him will be that on next Wednesday, there's a 99% chance that he's going to be on top of the world test batting ranking. So that's a really, really great sign and well deserved for Joe Root, isn't it?
Like it, yeah, yes, yeah, you are absolutely right. But it's not just about the 100. he has scored more than 100 in the same innings. Like he has
Yeah.
not stopped on that 100 mark. Yeah, he has scored double centuries as well, and
Yes, two
180 runs.
double centuries, two
Yeah,
scores of 180 plus, and two scores of 100 plus. So that shows that he's not, finished when he's just scored 100.
yeah, he is. I think for me, the top of the table. I mean, if we compare the Fab Four, Virat Kohli, Steve Smith, Kane Williamson, and Joe Root, he's sitting at the top position, and I think it's
Really?
yeah,
दिल से बोल
and
रहा है,
he's
सच
playing
बता.
strong right now.
रील्स के लिए बोल रहा है क्या? सच बता. रील्स के लिए बोल रहा है, सच बता.
नहीं 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 यार. Really appreciate the batting that he has done as a cricket
You
fan.
Because
still think he is above Steve Smith in tests?
Currently,
okay.
I mean, looking at his consistency, I think he is sitting at the top.
Okay.
Well, Kaustuv, what are your views on this? Because the Fab Four is really tight and packed now, and Virat Kohli in Test matches really seems to be going down now. He's up. He's down to number five in the Test match rankings. So, and he's not really performed well, especially in Test matches. In limited overs, he's a completely different player. So, do you think the Fab Four is losing one of its players, or do you think that it's still very intact and competitive? And who do you think is at the top currently, if you look at this year?
See, too. If you look at the matches and the run score, just based on that, it is really easy to say Joe Root because they have been playing lots of matches. But if you look at skill wise or even consistency and performance, I think Steve Smith in test sits at the top. I would rate Kane Williamson at the second, just because he is doing captaincy well, and he is running the team that is not so, what can I say, not that really placed with the skills. If you look at Indian team and the team that Virat Kohli is leading, he is really blessed to have skilled players in the team. There are phenomenal players, but if you look at New Zealand team, they are a team, the proper team. Right? There are no individual star performers. So I would rate Kane Williamson at second and Virat Kohli third, just because he is leading a team that is highly skilled. And at fourth, I would keep Steve Smith just because of inactivity. Sorry, Joe Root, just because of the skill. If you look at the skill.
Well, that smile showed that Parth wasn't agreeing with it, but then yeah, we are not about to talk about the individual rankings here, but then the dominance of England, and we've still got two wickets to take now. Craig Overton and Ollie Robinson both are capable of scoring 20s and 30s, but what do you think will be India's strategy today, Parth?
It's very tough, for Indians to get those 2 wickets of the tail enders. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the chance to get those 2 wickets is in the first session. I mean, in the first hour, because after that, if they get settled, I think it's difficult for India, to get the wickets, because we have seen the history of India's and the tail enders. It's it will be tough, for Indians, because they need to get those 2 wickets in the first session.
Well,
I would really disagree with Path here. The only reason is because if you want to save the test match, like if you want the test match to go to draw, the best chance that we have with this batting lineup is that England bats more and more and we bat less and less. So the more time we take those 2 wickets, the more time the England bats and the less time we have to bat. We are in the third day right
So
now.
so 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 we should keep bowling outside the on stump. They should keep
To
leaving
to
the balls
to
outside
be
the on
honest,
stump.
yes, I agree with you. देख देख एकदम जेन्युइनली बता मुझे, तेरे को लगता है अपन 3 दिन बैटिंग कर सकते हैं मैच बचाने के लिए, एटलीस्ट 2 दिन भी. So that is our best chance. Yeah, that is our best chance to win. Let England bat as much as they can, and then try to save the test match the better we can. That's the only strategy that I see right now working.
well, but then the only issue here is that
So,
England are leading by 345, and if we don't score 345 or more than that,
but yeah,
there's no
if
point
if
in
we
England
if we
batting. Yeah.
if we go by costume strategy, England might declare as well.
Yeah, definitely they are going to declare. 345, 345 ka lead in second innings is a big lead. There is no way we can. What can what can we say? There is only chance if we score 800 or 600 runs. Then we set a target of 300, and then we have really a small window to get them out. Do you think that is possible? We are hardly getting to 100. You think we are going to 600? I mean, we will definitely go, but not right now. In some, in distant future, the next test match, the test match
We
after that,
can,
we have a chance. But right
yeah.
now,
So
I think they play.
if we
Well,
can score
Kaustav,
that many runs
I know
in
you're a
parallel
very,
universe,
yeah, you're a very positive man, but then 800 runs, I mean, this will be a match to watch. Like one of my favorite matches if India score 800.
I'm just saying that if you have to win, that is the score you have to amass. Because they are already 300 and 400 ahead of us. So if you have to win, you have to set a target of at least 300 for them. Because the pitch is really flat, and the more you bat, the pitch is going to be better for batting. So that is the only reason I said 800, because that is the magic number that India has to get to in order to win the test match.
yes, then
Well,
England will change the runs as well. 800 one man solo.
The only problem here is about obviously about the Indian batting lineup and the lead that England have. But then all predictors yesterday I saw the predictor and it showed that we had only 1% chance of winning this test match, and rightly so because we haven't really played well. Even the bowling hasn't come well, isn't it, Parth? Because Mohammad Shami, except him, I don't think we could see any venom in that bowling attack. Jasprit Bumrah bowled well in intervals, but then he was unable to, get that breakthrough. And Ishan Sharma looked a bit off yesterday as well. Ravindra Jadeja got those two wickets, so the wickets were as usual shared between most of the Indian bowlers, but the Indian pacers lacked that consistency, isn't it?
Yes, everyone bowled well. I mean, except Ishan Sharma, because Ishan Sharma, I think, yeah, like you rightly said that was looking off color, but I mean, not getting those swings. I mean, not getting the spot. Consistent spot. To bowl. I think it's just a matter of one test match, and I think he can improve in the upcoming match. These things can happen to any player.
I think time is closing up on him. To be really honest, Shardul Thakur is waiting on the bench, and he's been performing phenomenally for India. And Ishan Sharma, I know he's a really good bowler, but he does not give much with the bat as much as Shardul Thakur gives. So I think time is really closing up on him. If he does not perform in the next test match, I think he'll be out. Because even Ashwin is waiting in the lineup. Unfortunately,
Plus,
the yes, yeah, yeah.
plus he
Unfortunately,
only
the
plays
PS are not spinner
one
friendly.
format.
Sorry.
Yeah, Ishan Sharma only plays just one format, na. So
Yeah, I mean, to be
the
honest,
kind of worry.
I'm really curious about Pujara and Ishan Sharma because in the off period they really play the English county for the betterment of their performance. And if you look at their performance, those two players' performance in England, they haven't been really that phenomenal or a level above the other players who does not play county. So that is a really curious case for me because they really play for England county and they does not seem to perform any different from other players of ours.
And Ishant, I think, if I remember, he scored a 50 as well in county cricket.
Yeah, क्या इंडिया का जैसे अच्छा नहीं लगता क्या उनको? I don't understand what their problem is in England.
कलर तो वाइट ही है भाई, अब क्या करें?
Some important points there, and I kind of agree with Kaustubh as well that age is closing in on him and his career. What a glorious career Ishant Sharma obviously has had, and he seemed a bit off pace yesterday. The pace was not as up as he would have expected himself, and but he's a fighter, and we surely hope that he comes back today, picks up those two wickets early, and you know. Continues forward from there. Omkar mentioned that it was a sixth time that Jasprit Bumrah dismissed Joe Root, but the only problem this time was that he dismissed him after that 100, so there wasn't any good celebration from Bumrah either. But we really did saw Bumrah bowl well in those line and lengths. Kaustubh, but do you think there's a need for Ravichandran Ashwin given his experience, purely his experience? Because Ravindra Jadeja, yes, he did get those two wickets, but then Ashwin's experience could have played a crucial role in this test match.
So if we see in hindsight, yes, definitely. But before the test match, even I would have picked Ravindra Jadeja ahead of Ravindra Ashwin, and that's the only reason I would have done that is because I feel Ravindra Jadeja is the most reliable batsman in Indian lineup right now. Uh, if you look at the whole lineup, I would say that I could place bet on Ravindra Jadeja will score on any day. But After first innings, you can say, "Arey, Ashwin chahiye tha. Pitch was really not that good. He could have been a better bowler." But those are the things that we say in hindsight. Before the Test match, even I would have played Ravindra Jadeja ahead of him.
Fair enough,
Yeah,
fair enough.
you just need only one spinner, in these England conditions. And if you are getting, an all-rounder like Jadeja, I mean, I don't think there will be a place for Ashwin in the team. If Jadeja fails to score those crucial runs like he does, then I think Ashwin should get a chance.
I think Lords was the best chance that Ashwin had, and I think Vives Lakshman even said the same thing. Lords pitch was really looking like it would spin on the last day, and even fourth day, I think Moeen Ali got Ravindra Jadeja out on a very good ball. So that was the
जीत गया ना
closest.
भाई.
No, no, I'm just
जीत
saying
गया
कि
ना.
मैं किधर ना बोल रहा हूँ. I'm just saying कि that was the closest time that he was in getting into the playing 11. Right now, I don't think there is any chance. A little, very little, might be.
Well, yes, certainly. We hope that because see, Ravindra Jadeja was he picked the first wicket by a spinner, by an Indian in this Test series. So it shows the amount of role that spin has had to play, a very minimal role, because the two wickets that he picked yesterday were the only two wickets by an Indian spinner. So that shows how the Pacers have performed and what India has to do if the Pacers don't perform. We have to move to spin, and that's the best trend that we have if the Pacers don't perform. So, well, yes, we'll have to wait and watch now what happens today. But let me get a few predictions out here quickly, starting with Parth first. Parth, what will happen till the lunch session? Will India bowl England out? Well, surely we hope so. But then, do you think the openers will stick till lunch?
I'm predicting India will get those two wickets in the first 10 overs. And एक मिनट में बोलने दे भाई, बोलने दे.
मैं म्यूट पे
I think
था. मैं कुछ बोल भी नहीं रहा था.
you were nodding your head, so I could tell. So yeah, India will take those two wickets in the first 10 overs, and the score till lunch would be 30-40 with the loss of one wicket.
Kaustubh, do you agree?
Yeah, that is realistic. That is a fair point by him. But as a fan, these are my hopes. I'm not saying these are my predictions, but these are my hopes that England bats as long as possible and India does not have to bat on the third day.
That's your wish. I mean, we were talking about the predictions.
अच्छा, ओके प्रेडिक्शन तो बोल दिया ना, अपना सेम ही है. मैं तेरे से डिसएग्री थोड़ी करेगा.
Okay, cool.
Parth, everyone's wanting to put your hat on, and your
Yeah,
predators have,
I
because
don't
it's
have that. I don't have that data because I was on a
well
very
because
short notice to join the show.
it was a pretty lucky charm that the hat had, because every time you wore and predicted, there was something special that happened for India. We surely hope you wore that hat in this Test match, but it seems
You
like
might
even
have
your
also
hat
noticed
has
that
failed.
I don't have that bats behind me because I was on a very short notice to join the show.
You were not on short notice. You were ignorant.
I think
Stop blaming the schedule.
Well, banter among the third man cricket show mates here, the analysts obviously having fun as always. But yes, the score once again is 423 for 8 for England. England lead by 345 runs. Kostub has predicted that England should bat as long and take time away from this Test match. Parth obviously still hopes that India will bat till lunch and they will lose a wicket, but there seems to be a really slim hope of India really putting on a good performance in this Test match, given that how dominant England have been. So let's hope for the best as of now. As Kaustubh said, even a 600, 800 is possible out of the blue. So let's really hope for that. And thank you, Kaustubh, and thank you, Par. I know that smile is a very sarcastic one, but we do have our backs for the Indian team, and we will surely back them as always. So let's hope for a good day of cricket and a good Indian day of cricket, especially. So thank you, Kostub, and thank you, Path, for the time that you put in. Thank you.
Bye,
thank you
guys.
too.